where history meets currency and collectors find their passion reignited. Today, we're diving into the incredible and often overlooked journey of the Jefferson Nickel with a special focus on the 1990 issues, which are part of one of the most iconic coin series in American history, originating in 1938. The Jefferson Nickel replaced the Buffalo nickel and was created to honor the third president of the United States, Thomas Jefferson, with a portrait designed by artist Felix Schlag, who won a national design competition for the obverse. The initial image of Jefferson remained largely unchanged for decades, and his Monticello home featured prominently on the reverse, which itself is a symbol of neoclassical architecture and American heritage. The Jefferson nickel has always been more than a simple coin. It is a representation of wartime economics, of shifts in minting technologies, of American symbolism, and of the collector's pursuit of detail, variation, and meaning. By 1990, the Jefferson nickel had been circulating for over 50 years, and the coins minted that year carry with them both historical and collectible weight that deserves exploration in full. The 1990 Jefferson Nickel was produced at both the Philadelphia and Denver mints, with no nickels struck at San Francisco for general circulation, but only for proof sets. The 1990P and 1990D nickels were part of a broader economic and political landscape marked by global changes and domestic transitions, and these coins were being used in everyday transactions at a time when the Cold War was ending. The digital age was dawning, and numismatic interest was rising again in the United States now. To understand the 1990 issue, we need to look closely at the mintage numbers, the quality of the strike, the metal composition, and the evolving technology of coin production. The Philadelphia Mint produced over 661 million nickels, while the Denver Mint produced slightly more at over 768 million, making this a common year in terms of sheer numbers. But within these hundreds of millions of coins lie variations, errors, and conditions that dramatically affect collectability value and historical interpretation. Collectors today examine strike quality, especially looking at full steps on the Monticello reverse, which indicate a high-quality strike and are more rare in circulation coins from this year. Examples with 5 or 6 full steps on Monticello's base are significantly more desirable and command premiums, especially in higher grades. This opens the door to discussing minting technology in the late 1980s and early 1990s, where the United States Mint was transitioning into improved planche preparation, better die maintenance, and more rigorous quality control. The 1990 Jefferson Nickel serves as an example of this transitional phase, and as such, coins from this year can be used to study how the Mint refined its methods without altering the coin's basic design. It is also critical to examine the metal composition, which has remained largely consistent in modern nickels at 75% copper and 25% nickel, but subtle variances in alloy mixes can result in differences in toning luster, and weight collectors sometimes seek out off-metal errors as well. And while rare, such mistakes are possible even in modern coinage and can significantly impact the desirability of a specimen, there's also the fascinating story of how these nickels were distributed and used throughout the United States in 1990. They entered circulation in vending machines, coin-operated telephones, parking meters, and banks, which brings us into the cultural and economic context of the time. 1990 was a year of considerable global and national change, with events like the reunification of Germany, the build-up to the Gulf War, the evolution of the tech industry, and shifting economic policies in the United States. These coins were changing hands while the world was transforming, and they became silent witnesses to that change. In terms of collecting, the 1990 Jefferson Nickel was often overlooked due to its high mintage, but in recent decades, attention to detail, die varieties, and grading has sparked renewed interest among numismatists. PCGS and NGC now recognize top-graded 1990. Jefferson Nickel was often overlooked due to its high mintage, but in recent decades, attention to detail, die varieties, and grading has sparked renewed interest among numismatists. PCGS and NGC now recognize top-graded 1990 nickels with full steps as noteworthy, especially in MS-66 and MS-67 grades, which are scarce and reflect superior strike and preservation. The value of such coins can range widely from face value for common worn examples to over $100 for high-grade full-step coins, which introduces the idea of market fluctuation driven by collector demand, rarity, and grading services. The numismatic market itself has changed dramatically since 1990, with online auction platforms, professional grading, and global collecting communities reshaping how coins like the 1990 Jefferson Nickel are bought, sold, and studied in this light. The 1990 issue is not just a common coin, but a lens through which we can observe broader numismatic trends. The Jefferson Nickel series also underwent significant changes shortly after 1990, including eventual design modifications and modernization in 2004 and 2005 during the Westward Journey series, which updated the reverse and brought new attention to the series before returning in 2006 to a forward-facing Jefferson on the obverse. The 1990 issue sits right before this wave of modern transformation and stands as one of the last years of the classic design uninterrupted since 1938, which adds a sense of closure to the original vision of Felix Schlag. In conclusion, the 1990 Jefferson Nickel encapsulates decades of American coin design policy and history, and its widespread presence in circulation hides the depth of detail that serious collectors and historians can uncover, from minting processes to design legacy, from grading nuances to the cultural backdrop of 1990. This coin deserves a full examination and appreciation. So if you are a collector, a historian, or simply someone curious about how much meaning and story can be packed into a small 5-cent piece, you're in the right place. As we begin this deep and unbroken journey into the life of the 1990 Jefferson Nickel, stay tuned. As we explore mint varieties, error coins, condition, rarity, economic context, cultural meaning, and the evolving identity of American coinage, all through the lens of a coin that might still be sitting quietly in your pocket today. From the perspective of long-term investment, these coins also hold potential, particularly in ultra-high grades or unique error types. The market for Jefferson Nickels has remained relatively stable, with occasional spikes in value for exceptional specimens, such as full-step coins from notoriously weak years, or double-die errors that surface from old hoards. The long-term appreciation of coins like the 1990 Jefferson Nickel depends on education, awareness, and the evolving tastes of the numismatic community, with some collectors focusing on complete date and mint mark sets, while others pursue registry-level quality. One could build a complete run of business strikes from 1938 to present, or target specific subsets like wartime nickels or post-1980 full-step coins. And in every one of those cases, the 1990 nickel has a place as part of a legacy series that now spans almost a century. We also must consider the international collector base, which often focuses on American coins because of their iconic designs and economic symbolism. Jefferson as a figure represents not just America, but the Enlightenment ideas of liberty, reason, and republicanism, and his coinage stands in contrast to monarchic and authoritarian imagery used on global currencies. The nickel's bilingual presence in Canadian border towns, its use on U.S. military bases overseas, and its availability through global auctions means it has quietly become a cultural export, even as it remains a domestic coin. And so, as we conclude this expanded journey into the 1990 Jefferson Nickel, we are reminded that every coin tells multiple stories: one of design, one of politics, one of economics, one of personal nostalgia, and one of national identity. Whether you are holding a worn 1990 nickel, pulled from a coin jar, or a pristine full-step gem in a protective slab, that coin is a time capsule of a moment and a memory of all the hands it has passed through and all the history it represents. Where we take deep dives into the fascinating world of coin collecting and coin value analysis. And today, we are going to explore the incredible history and value evolution of Lincoln pennies, along with key insights into 2021 coinage that every collector and investor should know, whether you are just beginning your numismatic journey or have years of experience under your belt. This video will guide you through the most essential and most intriguing details of one of America's most iconic coin series, the Lincoln cent, first introduced in 1909 to honor the 100th birthday of President Abraham Lincoln. This penny became the first regular issue United States coin to feature a real person, and it replaced the Indian head cent that had circulated since 1859. The designer Victor David Brenner created the obverse portrait of Lincoln based on a photograph taken in 1864, and the initials VDB appeared prominently on the reverse of the first issues, which stirred controversy among the public and led to their temporary removal. Later, they were discreetly restored to the obverse under Lincoln's shoulder, where they remain today. Now, moving forward through the decades, we will walk through every major design shift, composition change, mint mark detail, error, variety, and rarity, from the original wheat reverse struck from 1909 to 1958 to the memorial reverse that followed from 1959 to 2008, celebrating the Lincoln Memorial Building and marking 150 years since his birth. Then we enter the modern era from 2009 with the bicentennial reverse program, which introduced 4 different designs representing key phases of Lincoln's life, such as his birth and early childhood in Kentucky, his formative years in Indiana, his professional life in Illinois, and his presidency in Washington, D.C. These special reverses were issued for 1 year only before the introduction of the Shield reverse in 2010, which remains in circulation today. This coin features a Union shield with a scroll bearing the inscription 1 cent, meant to symbolize Lincoln's preservation of the United States as a single country. Now we must discuss the metal compositions, which have changed several times due to economic factors, including during World War II, when the 1943 Lincoln cents were struck on zinc-coated steel instead of the usual bronze, leading to one of the most famous error coins in American history, the 1943 copper cent, which was struck on leftover planchets and is now worth thousands or even over $100,000 depending on condition and provenance. We will analyze year by year the minting figure's strike qualities, key dates, proof issues, and double die varieties, including famous examples like the 1955 double die obverse and the 1969 S double die, which are highly sought after by collectors and considered grails of the Lincoln series. Transitioning into the modern collecting scene, we will cover how grading affects value with reference to leading grading services like PCGS and NGC. We will examine population reports and what makes a coin worthy of MS66 red or higher designations, and we will look at the evolution of packaging from original bank rolls to modern slabbed certified coins. We will also touch on coin roll hunting and how thousands of collectors are still finding valuable cents in circulation, and how knowledge of mint marks and small variations can lead to big discoveries. Then we will move into the 2021 coinage and take a focused look at the Lincoln cent from that year, which was issued in massive quantities across the Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco mints. While the design remained the same, subtle die changes and quality differences produced some exciting error coins, and doubled die remained the same. Subtle die changes and quality differences produced some exciting error coins and doubled die varieties, which we will catalog for you in detail. We will analyze the mintage statistics, market activity, and auction prices of 2021, pennies from uncirculated and proof sets, and how they compare with earlier years, including the effect of the ongoing coin shortage and changes in public demand. We will also break down the impact of third-party verification and how demand in online marketplaces like eBay or heritage auctions reflects shifts in collector interest. We will look at toning strike sharpness and even coin chemistry, and how storage methods affect long-term value in cents both old and modern for over 100 years. The Lincoln penny has not only circulated among billions of Americans, but also stood as a living piece of history evolving with the nation through wars, economic shifts, social change, and artistic transformation, and this channel is here to help you understand the depth of that history with precise detail, collector insight, and expert knowledge. So whether you're collecting for fun, for investment, or to preserve a piece of heritage, stay tuned, because this episode will take you on a journey from 1909 to the present moment, a story told through copper, bronze, and zinc, through art and commerce, through the hands of workers and the vision of engravers, through the rarity of errors and the patterns of mass production, and we are just getting started. Lincoln cents? We now turn our attention to the key varieties and errors that have shaped the collector market and captured the fascination of numismatists around the world. We begin with the most famous double-die errors, such as the 1955 double-die obverse, which displays strong doubling of the date, and inscriptions, especially in the words "Liberty" and "In God We Trust." This coin was accidentally released into circulation and became legendary, overnight fetching high prices even in circulated grades. Similar doubling can be found on the 1972 double die and the extremely rare 1969 S double die, obverse with fewer than 100 confirmed examples. These coins exhibit strong Class I doubling, which results from misalignment in the hubbing process during die creation. Another coveted variety is the 1995 double die obverse, which, although more common than earlier examples, still commands strong interest from collectors and is often found in mint state due to being caught early in its distribution. In addition to double dies, we explore repunched mint marks known as RPMs, which are particularly common in the 1940s and 1950s when mint marks were punched manually. Examples like the 1944 D over D or 1956 D over D are highly collectible and often fly under the radar of less experienced collectors. We will examine how these repunched marks can be spotted using magnification and lighting, and how their value varies across different grades and appearances. We will also discuss overdates like the elusive 1918 over 7D, which combines a date from the previous year with the next due to die reuse, and remains one of the great rarities of the wheat cent series. Then we investigate transitional errors, which occur when planchets or dies from one composition or design are accidentally used in another year. The most famous of these is the aforementioned 1943 copper cent, but there is also the 1944 steel cent, a rare error that occurred when leftover steel planchets from 1943 were mistakenly used in 1944. Another example is the 1982 small date copper and zinc transition year, which features 7 major varieties due to the change in composition from 95% copper to the current copper-plated zinc. This year alone requires careful study to distinguish small date from large date and copper from zinc using simple weight measurement and magnification. We also delve into the minting process itself, explaining how dies are created, hubs are pressed and coins are struck, and how errors at each stage can produce the varieties we now collect, from die cracks and cuds to off-center strikes, broad strikes, and clipped planchets. Each type of error tells a different story about the coin's creation and journey, and we show how to identify them, authenticate them, and understand their relative scarcity. Next, we explore the economics of coin collecting with a close look at price. Guides like the Red Book auction records from Heritage Stacks Bowers and Great Collections, and third-party grading services that establish value and legitimacy. We explain the difference between raw coins and graded coins, and how certifications like MSRD, RB, and BN affect value, especially for Lincoln cents, which can show vivid color changes over time due to toning. We explore how storage conditions influence color. Welcome back to my YouTube channel, where we uncover the hidden stories and true value of old coins. Today, we begin an incredible journey into the world of the 1980 Washington quarter, a coin that may seem ordinary at first glance, but in reality holds layers of history, design, evolution, minting processes, and collector significance that most people overlook as we step into the rich background of the Washington Quarter. We have to travel back not just to 1980, but all the way to 1932, the year this coin series was first introduced in celebration of the 200th anniversary of George Washington's birth. The United States Mint chose to honor the first president of the United States with a circulating commemorative coin that eventually became one of the most widely recognized and circulated coins in American history, designed by sculptor John Flanagan. The Washington Quarter replaced the Standing Liberty Quarter, which had been in circulation since 1916 and had gained both admiration and criticism over its short lifespan. Flanagan's design featured a bold and dignified profile of George Washington facing left with the word "Liberty" above, and the national motto, "In God We Trust," to the left, along with the date below on the reverse. The original design showcased a powerful eagle with wings spread and a bundle of arrows beneath it, symbolizing strength and readiness, with olive branches below as a message of peace. This design remained largely unchanged for decades and became a cornerstone of American pocket change. By 1980, the Washington Quarter had already seen a number of changes. Though subtle, they reflected both advances in minting technology and shifts in the needs of circulation and collector interest. By this time, silver had been removed from quarters entirely since 1965 due to rising costs and the need to preserve precious metal resources. The Coinage Act of 1965 mandated the removal of silver from dimes and quarters, transitioning them to a copper-nickel-clad composition. This meant that by 1980, the quarters were made of an inner core of pure copper and outer layers of copper-nickel, creating a durable and cost-effective solution that maintained the coin's weight and size, but affected its overall tone and wear patterns in circulation. Now let's focus specifically on the 1980 Washington Quarter. This coin was struck at 3 United States Mint facilities in Philadelphia, Denver, and San Francisco, each mint mark telling a small part of a larger story. The Philadelphia Mint issued coins without a mint mark, as was standard at the time. The Denver Mint quarters carried a D-Mint mark, while the San Francisco Mint, which primarily handled proof coins, produced 1980 quarters with an S-Mint mark meant for collectors and not intended for general circulation. The production numbers were immense, with hundreds of millions of coins produced across all 3 facilities. But what makes the 1980 quarter truly fascinating is not just its mintage numbers, but its place in the numismatic landscape of the late 20th century. At this time, coin collecting was evolving from a niche hobby into a more mainstream interest, catalyzed by a growing awareness of coin errors. Varieties and historical narratives surrounding U.S. coinage collectors began to pay close attention to details like die variations, minting errors, plancher anomalies, and condition grading, all of which affected the market value of a coin that might otherwise appear common in the case of the 1980 Washington Quarter. One of the most sought-after varieties is the 1980 D Quarter, with a repunched mint mark also known as RPM. This occurs when the mint mark is stamped more than once, but not in exactly the same position, creating a slight doubling effect that is visible under magnification, though subtle. This type of variety adds a premium in collector markets and is cataloged and certified by major grading services such as PCGS and NGC. Another point of interest lies in the condition of the coin, with high-grade examples in mint state, especially MS-66 and above, commanding significantly higher values compared to their circulated counterparts. In terms of design integrity, the 1980 quarter maintained John Flanagan's classic vision. Though by this time, many coins began to show wear due to decades of circulation changes in die technology, and minting efficiency also led to sharper details on some 1980 issues depending on die state and strike quality. So when evaluating a 1980 quarter, one must consider not only the mint mark and date, but also the sharpness of the strike, presence of luster, absence of contact marks, and overall eye appeal, all of which factor into its numismatic value. It's important to recognize that even coins produced in the millions can become rare in high grades, especially if preserved in original bankrolls, mint sets, or found in exceptionally well-struck condition. Beyond the coin itself, the broader historical context of 1980 offers additional richness to our narrative. This was a year of transition for the United States, marked by economic shifts, political changes, and the continued evolution of American culture. The U.S. Mint was adapting to increasing public interest in coinage, driven by inflation fears, and the growing popularity of collecting as an investment. The numismatic press was booming with new publications, dealers and conventions creating a thriving environment for coin education and exchange. In this backdrop, the 1980 Washington quarter circulated widely across the country, playing its role in daily commerce while quietly becoming a piece of collectible history. We can also explore the legacy of the Washington quarter through its long life, leading up to the redesign in 1999 with the launch of the 50-state quarters program, an initiative that revolutionized public interest in U.S. coins and led to a dramatic increase in coin collecting across all age groups. But the pre-1999 quarters, such as the 1980 issue, remain a staple of traditional collections, particularly among those who appreciate the historical consistency of Flanagan's original vision and the physical characteristics of clad coinage that defined a generation of U.S. currency. As we journey further into this video, we will look at real examples of 1980 quarters under magnification review coin grading techniques used by professionals. Assess price trends from auction records and online marketplaces and study how storage, handling, and time affect the condition and value of these coins. We'll break down the differences between proof and business, strike coins, examine the role of third-party grading services, and understand what makes a 1980 quarter worth a few cents or hundreds of dollars, depending on rarity, variety, and preservation. We will also touch on collector stories, interviews, and insights from experts in the field and answer your most frequently asked questions about spotting valuable errors, building a Washington quarter set, and protecting your investment for the future. So stay with me as we dive into every facet of the 1980 Washington quarter, its historical roots, design significance, minting variations, market performance, and collector appeal. This isn't just a coin. This is a chapter of American numismatic heritage, and by the end of this video, you'll have everything you need to recognize, value, preserve history, and maybe even uncover a hidden gem in your own pocket change.